Hey guys, so I'm just gonna make a series of videos just explaining and owning up and taking accountability.
So this topic has been flooding in my DMs recently, and I have seen the downfall happen of this person.
So if you guys have been on TikTok for the last couple days, most likely you have heard of Gemini Official.
So let's go through a little bit of a recap for what had happened. I'll say from like the general perspective.
This whole beef, drama, and exposure of Gemini happened extremely late 2020, and it originally started out with a woman by the name of Ruby.
She had accused him of behaving inappropriately with young girls.
So Ruby just posted a video of me flirting with her and other girls that I've known within my life.
And in turn of her doing that, she lost over 50,000 followers and was called a liar and shamed.
So at this point, most people were actually defending Gemini Official.
I still stand with everything I said in my last video. Ruby did set him up and was using him for clout.
However, not long after those allegations had come to light, additional girls were coming forward with their own stories about Gemini.
He was saying I was his everything when I was a minor. Her name is @JadenCanDance, and she tells the whole story of how he took advantage of her while she was under the
6 months ago, there was a creators event going on in Los Angeles that Gemini was attending. And I had Gemini on Snap, and he asked me to come over.
I got with this girl and she's 15 years old. After the fact, I found out that she was 15 and I still kept talking to her.
Every Snapchat I made, he would reply with, "Wow, you look so fine. I was a minor."
You can see my man's mugshot.
I never forced this girl to do anything.
He is not the man he wants you to think he is.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning. Thanks for tuning in.
If you're like me and billions of others, you may have heard of a little unique app known as TikTok. But if for some reason you haven't, then that's not a problem by any means. Allow me to explain. Home to an endless array of creators from all kinds of backgrounds, walks of life, cultures, and so forth, TikTok is a website that acts as a means for the average regular day-to-day person to go viral with just a few combined clips and a little bit of free time. From adorable animals that can warm up even the coldest of hearts with a smile, which is not what's being shown on screen, I have no earthly idea what this thing is, conspiracy theorists that make you question how we have even reached this point in history as a species, or quick food tutorials that are either genuinely useful or just leave you with a visual stomach ulcer. The type of content that can be found within TikTok is limited only to both the user's imagination and to the vast selection of creators who are willing to provide said content. However, TikTok is not a website without flaws, and its existence can oftentimes be, understandably, a double-edged sword. TikTok throughout its years has been no stranger to a wide variety of controversies, from the very creators whose content you yourself may have seen or even enjoyed in passing. From manipulative old men who find romantic interest in TikTokers no older than their daughter, predators who find comfort in channeling their inner Minecraft fanfictions, or genuine menaces to society, TikTok is, as best described, an absolute dumpster fire at times. And with our character of interest today, we will be adding additional fuel to that metaphorical fire as we document yet another disappointing footnote of TikTok's ever-growing history of controversial figures. Perhaps if you were around during the early days of TikTok, you may already be acquainted. But if you're not, allow me to introduce you to this particular individual. Meet the Gemini, better known as Gemini Official, Peppermint Guy, or simply put, Gemini. Appearing on TikTok as early as I could find documented around 2018, Gemini was a comedic-themed content creator that could be found posting various attempts at sketch comedies, duets, and various dances with other users throughout his now-deleted TikTok account. Skyrocketing in popularity, Gemini would go on to gain particular recognition for his rather irritable "Do you want a peppermint" trend that overtook users' feeds by storm early into his TikTok career, earning him the nickname, as we mentioned, Peppermint Guy. Despite appearing as a rather normal creator, with no signs of foul behavior to be attributed to his online presence, the limelight that brightened Gemini's life would, for good reason, not last forever, and his career would inevitably be cut short after his volatile past eventually found its way into the online public space of TikTok, revealing a self-centered, manipulative monster who would go to great lengths to cover his tracks. From relentless inappropriate messages and photos, inquirings of meetups with minors, urging a minor for illicit FaceTime interactions whilst knowing her age of 15 years old, a self-admission of a deplorable crime that took place within a hotel room with said 15-year-old, an unexpected rabbit hole of users who claimed bad experiences with Gemini, further leading to a strong potential uncovering of a sickening criminal history, lying and guilt-tripping a minor in an attempt to keep her silent, deception, manipulation, and more than I can reasonably cover in a mere summarization. The story of Gemini is one that not only leaves me disappointed as well as uncomfortable to review, but also exemplifies the many behaviors and red flags that users should look out for in the future when using TikTok due to the many predators who still actively roam the website. But before we dive into today's video, if you'd allow me to briefly introduce myself, I'd be ever so thankful. Hi, I'm Wonder, your one-stop shop for calm deep dives on some of the internet's most nefarious individuals online. I post a new deep dive on a tri-weekly basis on Wednesday at 11 a.m. So if you find you enjoy today's episode, feel free to consider leaving a like and subscribe with the bell notification on so you never miss out on future uploads, as well as yours truly. If you'd like to leave a comment down below telling me what you did or didn't like about today's video, I'd greatly appreciate it so I can work towards providing a better viewing experience for you in the future. I'd like to take a moment to credit the on-screen creators as their videos, information, and evidence provided me with the proper direction and ability to cohesively bring together today's deep dive. I highly encourage you to check out their work when you get the chance. I appreciate you for letting me get that out of the way and most of all for you being here. So without further ado, let's dive into the nauseating story of Gemini Official, TikTok's most deceptive predator.
I was busy dreaming about girls, girls, girls. I was thinking about pizza.
Before we can fully explore the self-centered, pathetic acts committed by our individual in question, we need to ask ourselves one very important question first. Who even is Gemini Official? While yes, we did just briefly go over a condensed summary of Gemini's history a few moments prior, I'd like to expand upon this posed question a little further. So, cueing a sarcastic narration, let's go back to the very beginning. In the year 2000, the world was met with a beautiful gift, that being the gift of life. A baby named Gemini had been born into the loving arms of two parents who wanted nothing more than to see their son succeed in the many avenues that one may find in life. Reaching out with pure fascination at the ones who gave this baby his first breath, a young Gemini looked directly into his mother and father's eyes and uttered the words, "Mom, Dad, I want to be a TikTok star." Fast-tracking to 18 years later, and countless nights of his parents crying themselves to sleep, Gemini had now grown into quite the young man, with his eyes set on attending undisclosed university, located in Louisiana, to pursue a dream of acting in theater after high school. It was a school he would, allegedly, later be removed from due to sexual harassment, but we weren't there quite just yet. Given the scattered nature of information surrounding the early days of Gemini's online presence, it is with reasonable assumption that somewhere within this time frame of his life, the years of 2017 through 2018, that Gemini had most likely begun to take notice of the new popular app known as TikTok that had been dominating the online space since its international release in 2017, a year prior. With a comprehensible schematic similar to that of Vine, paired with TikTok's inevitable merging of its neighboring app Musical.ly, the website was appealing to those eager new faces who wanted to share their talents with the world. With the eye-catching potential of becoming a viral sensation seemingly overnight, paired with a background of being a theater kid with big dreams, creating an account must have easily been a no-brainer decision for the likes of Gemini. Over the next 2 years, Gemini would begin his content creation journey, as we had previously mentioned, by providing viewers with his comedy-centered sketches, dances, and collaborations with other popular creators via TikTok duets. For those unfamiliar who might not use the app, duetting is a feature that allows users to react to anyone who has said feature enabled on their specific video, allowing people to react, comment, or engage with someone's TikTok with a video of their own. Typically, Gemini's gimmick that would set him apart in users' feeds would be his usage of strange facial reactions, oftentimes employed in these duets with other creators. At other times, Gemini could be found uploading peculiar videos where he acted like a real goofy goober all by his lonesome, as well as partaking in the many dancing trends that TikTok has seen throughout its history. Ironically enough, after watching many of these clips for myself, I found Gemini was actually able to bring a certain level of charm alongside his content that made you feel humbled by the fact that, hey, I may have cringe moments in my life, but at least I'm not that guy.
Perfect. You a pie? Oh boy! What flavor? Pie 3 times!
After circulating through the platform throughout the majority of 2018, Gemini, after now having honed his craft, was soon to find himself in the position that most TikTokers dream of, which was setting in motion a viral trend of his own. Towards the later half of 2018, a particular clip of Gemini's would begin to find its way into the feeds of millions of TikTok users after Gemini reacted to a clip of a girl dressed as a clown, where he and the clown co-lip-synced the words to Jack Stauber's popular song, Peppermint featuring Lexi, employing his jarring facial reactions throughout said clip. After finding viral success with this particular clip, Gemini would soon go on to create variations of the same duet with other creators over the next few months alongside his routine comedy sketches, hastily carving out a recognizable presence for himself on the platform, all the while growing his audience size into the millions. For Gemini, TikTok was beginning to look like a promising career in line with his passion, and the sky really did seem to be the limit. However, as the saying goes, what goes up must come down. And after 2 successful years as a beloved creator, this downfall would come in the form of an absolute crash and burn of Gemini's online career through an onslaught of numerous allegations of heinous behavior and misconduct.
What's up, guys? Let me address this so that it can literally go away, because I don't do controversy and I hate drama. So, Ruby just posted a video of me flirting with her and other girls that I've known within my life. One, these screenshots of me flirting with Ruby just happened last night, and I knew something was up. So then I asked how old she was, and then she said she was 16, and I was like, okay, Ruby, like, why are you acting so weird in the first place? Because we don't even talk. So I wanted to see what she was up to. So yes, I did flirt with her again one more time to see what she was doing.
By the summer's end of 2020, Gemini was at the height of his career. At the time, his TikTok account boasted a proud estimation of around 115 to 120 million total likes, with a community made up of over 3.7 million followers. Gemini, by all means, was flourishing as a creator. However, Gemini was about to face his first reality check out of many when it came to what he believed he could get away with behind the scenes as someone with the power of online influence. In August of 2020, a 16-year-old TikToker by the name of Ruby the Awesome Turd, or as we will refer to as Ruby, posted a series of call-out videos directed at Gemini that posed rather serious accusations against the creator. In these videos, Ruby alleged that Gemini had been inappropriately messaging her via the app Snapchat, yet claimed that she had provided Gemini with her age and that this knowledge did little to dissuade Gemini's behavior. In her initial call-out clip posted to TikTok, Ruby can be seen showing alleged message exchanges between her and Gemini via Snapchat to the tune of Jack Stauber's song Peppermint, which was a direct reference to Gemini's once viral TikTok. These original videos have since been removed from TikTok for a few possibilities that we will see pop up and occur throughout this story, but re-uploads of this callout can be found scattered about online. Despite there being no actual dialogue due to the parodic nature of this clip, I'll let this initial callout play for you now, after which we will break down a few important details to make note of before diving into the unusual response from users surrounding Ruby's allegations. Let's take a look together. After watching this clip, I'd like to make note of a few absolutes that this clip appears to provide. This clip was indeed rather quick, so let's roll things back a bit so we can fully digest exactly what we're seeing here. In the first frame we are provided with, we can see Ruby with the caption, "This is what you call a predator," while showing what appears to be a private Snapchat photo that had been sent to her by Gemini, establishing that these two individuals have some form of direct contact. If we look closer, we can see that the photo sent by Gemini has a one-word caption of its own that says, "Cutie." The following frame provided is captioned, "Love to see a 20-year-old flirting with a 16-year-old," revealing yet another photo sent by Gemini where his own caption reads similar to his last, "You cute ASF." We are then met with a screenshot of a Snapchat private message exchange that's caption reads, "Ayo Gemini, is this you? Pretty sure she's 13. How old are you again? Nobody survives this." I admittedly was somewhat confused by this bit of information, as from my perception it appeared as if Ruby was presenting somebody else's screenshots alongside her own, as the age of 13 was mentioned when, as we know, Ruby was 16. This is later clarified to be the case in further clips and from Gemini directly. The messages we are presented with contain two confirmed photos of Gemini posing shirtless in front of a bathroom mirror, while the recipient of these images replies with both blushing as well as heart eye emoticons. Preceding this, we are shown further additional screenshots of selfies sent directly by Gemini. Ruby explains that Gemini had asked if she would be interested in a possible collaboration in the future, to which Ruby asked what the collaboration would entail. Gemini then allegedly responded with, as we can see on screen, that he would want to meet up, tagging his message with both blushing and winking emoticons. Ruby concludes her video with one more final frame that reads, "Please stop hitting on minors. You're disgusting." He FaceTimed me and asked if he and I wanted to talk. I have the videos and everything. Please send this to TikTok Room so they can post everything. The TikTok Room in reference would later be revealed to be a chat room in a Discord server owned by Ruby, where she was actively posting her interactions with Gemini, allegedly alongside others who claim to have issue with the creator. Now, I know this holds no relevance to the story, but I can't just shake this thought. I see these Snapchats sent by Gemini, and I just keep thinking about how this man was sitting in a dark room, probably giggling and kicking his feet while actively blinding himself with the flash of his camera, hoping that he'd be able to successfully solicit a minor into meeting up with him. He looks like a failed playthrough of Majora's Mask. Again, no relevance, I apologize, but I just couldn't shake that thought when reading those messages. Now that we're caught up to speed with Ruby's initial call-out video, we can officially say we have reached the tip of the iceberg on what was to come. We have alleged messages between Ruby and Gemini where he can be seen calling her cute and cute AF. We have screenshots of another unknown individual's interactions with Gemini, where that individual is being sent shirtless photos with the allusion that the recipient may be 13 years old. And we have an alleged interaction where Gemini can be seen asking for a meetup with Ruby, who I must remind was 16 years old at the time. To clarify, this was in 2020. Gemini would have been 20 years old at this time. To say the least, this was not a good look in the slightest. In my opinion, one would assume that this information would evoke a response that would result in a demand for much-needed answers and explanations from Gemini. And if that was your assumption, you'd actually be mistaken. Gemini wasted no time in creating a response video of his own to the allegations that had been made against him, which resulted in public favor towards Gemini and an almost immediate backlash against Ruby. This response is roughly about 5 minutes in length, but I've cut down any unnecessary exposition so that the information is more digestible for a viewing experience. Together, let's watch this clip, and afterwards discuss its contents as well as the backlash that ensued, before moving on to a follow-up video that was made by Ruby that was posted to TikTok in response to Gemini's version of events. There's a lot of contradictive moments here in this response made by Gemini that I'm interested to pick apart. Let me know if you notice them, and let's take a look.
What's up, guys? Let me address this so that it can literally go away because I don't do controversy and I hate drama. Ruby just posted a video of me flirting with her and other girls that I have known within my life. One, these screenshots of me flirting with Ruby just happened last night, and I knew something was up. No, I didn't know Ruby was 16, and how the conversation started was actually really weird. She was flirting with me, and I was flirting back, but I was also asking her questions about Theo because I thought that they were still together, but it turns out that they'd broken up. So then I asked how old she was, and then she said she was 16, and I was like, okay, Ruby, like, why are you acting so weird in the first place? Because we don't even talk. So I knew she was up to something, and then she started like leaving me on red, so I wanted to see what she was up to. So yes, I did flirt with her again, one more time, to see what she was doing. And she literally was in her Discord trying to set me up. So to further explain my reasoning, nowhere in Ruby's page or on her Instagram like description or anything does she say that she's 16. If I had known that, none of this would have ever happened in the first place. And it should have never happened, but I don't watch Ruby's videos, so I would have never known. She followed me one day, so I followed her, and that's how it was. I invited her to be in this TikTok house, but then she told me that her parents wouldn't let her. And also, all those screenshots were before I had asked her. I love how she didn't screenshot me asking her how old she was and telling her that she needs to stop. It was literally a setup, so I never knew. And so then there's a screenshot of me sending my abs to a woman, and the pictures itself, like the conversation is literally over a year old. And then on the screenshot it says, Gemini, this you, pretty sure she's 13. She's not 13. I'm pretty sure I don't even have 13-year-olds on my Snapchat. Even then, I don't even remember what happened, what my conversations were over a year ago. And I guarantee you, she probably never even told me she was 13. I'm not gonna lie. I do comment on girls' TikToks, and I flirt and compliment because that's what they deserve. They deserve compliments. They deserve to know how amazing they are. And then, you know, you don't want to go too far, so you check the description or somewhere where it says that they're however old they are, or you can check famous birthdays. And then you'll see in some cases, I'll comment, be like, never mind, she's 16, blah, blah, blah. Look, guys, I'm just trying to live my life, be happy, have fun. I'm literally just trying to live my life. And I hate that there's haters who want to do everything that they can to bring somebody down because they're not in their position. Or maybe that's not even the case. Maybe they just, I don't know, whatever they have, whatever, I don't know. People are just weird, honestly. Like, it's just sad, honestly. And you guys know that I love you, and I'm so grateful for where I am. So I would never do you guys wrong. Again, I don't do controversy. I want to spread love and laughter. So I'm sorry to anyone that I hurt, but yeah, that's the truth.
Alright, so quite a few things to break down with this response. Perhaps you missed some more of the eyebrow-raising moments, so let's thoroughly roll things back a bit, shall we? As we saw, we begin with Gemini ensuring viewers that he in fact hates drama, and that he's not one to partake in controversies. Gemini then quickly goes on to state that Ruby had in fact posted a call-out video containing messages that indeed showed him flirting with Ruby, as well as other individuals from his past.
So, Ruby just posted a video of me flirting with her and other girls that I've known within my life.
This, despite being a well-received response from Gemini, already confirmed within the first few seconds that Ruby was telling the truth, and that Gemini was in fact flirting with her. Gemini proceeds to clarify that the exchanges between him and Ruby had only taken place the night before her video had been released on TikTok, saying how he knew something was up, but he couldn't quite put his finger on it, alluding to Ruby's actions as suspicious.
So I knew she was up to something, and then she started like leaving me on red, so I wanted to see what she was up to. So yes, I did flirt with her again one more time to see what she was doing.
This claim of Gemini's is one I find deserving of scrutiny. Humor me with this for a moment if you will. If you were certain that something was off with a situation and you were apparently proceeding with the utmost caution, why would you continue to flirt back with this girl, let alone continue the conversation at all? If you were under such suspicion, how did you manage to find yourself in this rather avoidable situation to begin with? I suppose finding an answer to such questions would prove counterproductive, as one would have to apply logic to blatant stupidity. Gemini follows his defense up by saying how he was truly unaware that Ruby was 16. But even if that was found to be the case, that he was blissfully unaware, that doesn't count as an excuse. Gemini should have asked before reciprocating any and all forms of flirtatious behavior. But he chose intentional ignorance instead. To not ask one's age is actively making the choice to not do so. Minors will never fall under the "do now, ask questions later" clause. To avoid this, it's actually quite simple. It's only 4 little words. Let's give it a shot together. how old are you?
You're learning so many important things, and I'm so proud of you.
You see how easy that is? Every person is capable of saying those 4 little words. To claim anything else is just nonsense. And what makes sitting here listening to Gemini's explanation an actual waste of time is that he then confirms he did in fact learn that Ruby was 16 years old.
So then I asked how old she was, and then she said she was 16, and I was like, okay, Ruby, like, why are you acting so weird in the first place? Because we don't even talk.
Which, by that point, while yes, the damage had already been done, the conversation shouldn't have continued under any circumstances. It should have stopped there if Gemini wanted us to truly believe his reckless claims of plausible deniability. But it didn't. Remember, Gemini just had to figure out what his hunch was about this situation. So his master plan to uncover the truth of what was really going on was to continue flirting with the confirmed minor.
So yes, I did flirt with her again one more time to see what she was doing.
That doesn't make any sense. You can't claim that you are tactically flirting with a minor and then expect me to not think that you're full of shit. After continuing this flirtatious conversation for, as he claims, investigative purposes, Gemini soon uncovered after the fact that Ruby had been secretly posting their chat logs within her own Discord server in an attempt to set him up and share evidence amongst other members.
And she literally was in her Discord trying to set me up to try and ruin my career.
As is frequently pointed out in comment sections surrounding this particular situation, one could argue that this was indeed a setup. Ruby had, after all, gone out of her way to try and catch Gemini in the act of doing something slimy, and she did. Now, under no circumstances do I condone minors attempting to catch individuals online by any means for numerous reasons, safety being the top priority. However, at the end of the day, we can't change that this did happen, and the result was a documented encounter of Gemini recklessly flirting with a minor, and continuing to do so after learning of her age.
So then I asked how old she was, and then she said she was 16, and I was like, okay, Ruby, like, why are you acting so weird in the first place? Because we don't even talk. So yes, I did flirt with her again one more time to see what she was doing.
To argue the rights and wrongs of setting Gemini up is to reach into semantics that downplay the bigger picture that Gemini, at his own admission, was flirting with a known minor. His argument that she didn't add her age to her bio on any of her social media pages or descriptions, and that had he known of her age prior that none of this would have happened, is automatically nullified when he admits that he continued to flirt with her once he became aware of her age. Remember, for tactical purposes, because again, that makes so much that makes so much sense. This rationale also begs the obvious question. Couldn't Gemini have simply asked Ruby what her age was before even entertaining the idea of flirting back with her? Again, it's the mentality of do now, ask questions later. Continuing on, I want to dissect Gemini's explanation here even further. Gemini goes on to claim that he himself does not watch Ruby's videos, so he had no way of knowing who she was, what she looked like, so on and so forth. But what I find interesting is that he says he had in the past invited Ruby to be a part of a TikTok house and that her parents wouldn't allow this, resulting in no further communication between the two users for the next several months.
I don't watch Ruby's videos, so I would have never known. She followed me one day, so I followed her, and that's how it was. I invited her to be in this TikTok house, but then she told me that her parents wouldn't let her. And I was like, okay, like that's it. We never talk. Me and Ruby never talk. So all this was like super weird that she just randomly started flirting with me.
Now, to clarify for those who might not know, a TikTok house can be a temporary or permanent stay where a quantity of TikTok creators get together, they make content, and they do a lot of collaboration in person. That could mean anything from an Airbnb to an actual house that a lot of people are in on. In a situation like this, it's revealed that this is in fact an Airbnb. I just wanted to clarify what that is in case anyone didn't know. This explanation is quite contradictory and doesn't make much sense when you stop to think about it. By Gemini's logic here, the story that he wants us to believe is that he is completely unfamiliar with Ruby and her content, but at the same time he invited her to be a part of a TikTok house? Going off Gemini's story, that would mean he essentially invited a stranger of unknown age to remain under the same roof as him for a period of time to make content. I'd argue that it's really questionable to invite, in your words, a girl you barely know to be a part of a TikTok content house if you yourself don't even watch her content. That, in my personal opinion, does not add up in the slightest. Gemini then claims that Ruby had never showed the screenshot of him asking her age, then him telling her to stop once he found out.
And also, all those screenshots were before I had asked her. I love how she didn't screenshot me asking her how old she was and telling her that she needs to stop.
But I'm inclined in my personal belief to believe that this is most likely a lie from Gemini. He doesn't show the screenshot of this alleged interaction himself, which I'd imagine he might have access to. But even if for some reason he was unable to retrieve these messages, which there are instances where you, the user, cannot retrieve prior DMs, such as deleting a user or blocking them from your account, it can happen. It still wouldn't line up with his recollection of events because he just said that he flirted back with her once he knew she was 16.
So yes, I did flirt with her again one more time to see what she was doing.
So did Gemini ask her to stop, or did he continue to flirt back? I'm getting a little confused here. Which one is it? Because, to my understanding, you can't have that both ways. Moving on to Gemini's explanation of the shirtless photos that were sent, we are left with even more of these misaligned recollections. It is revealed by Gemini that the shirtless images of him that Ruby had presented in her initial callout had been sent to a separate user with whom Gemini had flirted with in the past. To refresh you, if perhaps the details were forgotten, in Ruby's initial video, there was a screenshot that appeared to show inappropriate shirtless photos being sent by Gemini to an alleged 13-year-old. This is who we are about to discuss. At some point, this unknown user had either posted their story publicly, and Ruby had located these messages that way, or this user had been in some form of contact with Ruby directly, possibly even through her own Discord. However it came to be, the information was out there, and Gemini had actually confirmed that this was in fact him and these photos. Gemini confidently emphasized, though, that this user was actually a woman, and that he's pretty sure he doesn't have 13-year-olds on his Snapchat. However, he then contradicts his own statement by saying he can't recall the context of the messages or what he was discussing over a year ago with another user.
So then there's a screenshot of me sending my abs to a woman, and the pictures itself, the conversation is literally over a year old. Like, I took those pictures over a year old, and I could literally prove it. And then on the screenshot it says, Gemini, this you, pretty sure she's 13. She's not 13. I'm pretty sure I don't even have 13-year-olds on my Snapchat. Even then, I don't even remember what happened, what my conversations were over a year ago.
Now, I'm not a behavioral analyst or anything, but if I had to make an educated guess as to the context of these messages that Gemini just seems to be forgetting, help the guy out a bit, I see heart eye emoticons and shirtless photos being sent. I can't say for sure, but I'm fairly certain this was not a conversation about the weather. Gemini continues to trip up on his own story and ensures his audience that the user in question had probably never even told him that she was 13 in the first place.
And I guarantee you, she probably never even told me she was 13.
But that doesn't make any sense because he just told us that this was a woman he was speaking with. He says verbatim that this user was not 13. Now, 2 sentences later, Gemini's uncertain of her age. What happened to the assured confidence that this user in question was an adult? Further incriminating himself with what is, in my strongest belief, a disgusting mindset of his, Gemini admits that he does recklessly flirt and compliment girls on TikTok because they, as he says, deserve to know how amazing they are.
I'm not gonna lie, I do comment on girls' TikToks and I flirt and compliment because that's what they deserve. They deserve compliments. They deserve to know how amazing they are. And then, you don't want to go too far, so you check the description or somewhere where it says that they're however old they are, or you can check famous birthdays. And then you'll see in some cases, I'll comment, be like, never mind, she's 16, blah, 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 or never mind, she's 17.
What a self-absorbed and creepy way of thinking. Gemini believes that if he is caught flirting with a minor, say under her post or comment section, that he has a get out of controversy free card because he didn't know her age and she deserved the attention anyways. So after he's done with his initial flirting, that's when he'll check someone's description to see their age. And if he finds out that they are in fact a minor, he'll backtrack and say never mind. How on earth did anyone initially side with this man? I would almost find the level of idiocracy of Gemini saying that he doesn't want things to go too far to be somewhat humorous, were it not for how serious these situations are. Gemini concludes his response by saying he's just trying to live his best life, and that he dislikes that there are haters out there who just want to bring him down, either because they aren't as successful as him or for other unknown motives. Stating that he loves his audience, he's sorry for hurting anyone, and assures the viewer that everything he has just said is the truth.
And you guys know that I love you, and I'm so grateful for where I am. So I would never do you guys wrong. Again, I don't do controversy. I want to spread love and laughter. So I'm sorry to anyone that I hurt, but yeah, that's the truth.
As we now know, this response from Gemini would inspire users to defend him against Ruby's alleged lies, prompting followers to stop supporting Ruby, which resulted in a loss of nearly 50,000 of her TikTok fans, alongside many hateful comments accusing her of being deceptive. Many were quick to call Ruby a fraud and accused her of falsifying messages and evidence in order to ruin Gemini's career for clout and views. It was clear that Ruby's call-out video detailing her version of events was not being well received in the slightest by the community of TikTok. Now, I've read through a lot of comments saying that Ruby had intended to set Gemini up, that they were both in the wrong, and that Ruby had instigated the entire situation. Some less harsh critics argued that while Ruby was in fact in the right, that she had poorly delivered the information, which had resulted in the intense backlash. I'm not going to tell you how to feel or what to think, as I highly encourage you to form your own thoughts and opinions on these matters, as that is what, in my eyes, yields a productive conversation. But I will say this, at the end of the day, from what I saw, Ruby had provided flirtatious interactions from an adult directed at a minor. If this indeed is exactly as it looks like, and I'm not being disillusioned by any smoke and mirrors that I might potentially not be seeing, then in terms of who was right or wrong in this situation, the responsibility falls upon the adult every time. Gemini should have checked Ruby's age before attempting to message her in such a way. But again, even if he had learned of Ruby's age, he already proved to us through his own self-admission that the discovery of one's age wouldn't have stopped him from behaving inappropriately anyways. So even with Ruby's alleged attempt at baiting Gemini, I can't overlook the fact that he was caught flirting with a minor. However, when the situation was first taking place, there were a lot of individuals who did not see it that way. Ruby was quick to respond to Gemini's version of events by once more providing an updated call-out video to TikTok aimed at clarifying her intent with her initial clip, as well as providing more evidence that Gemini was trying to further engage in contact with her the night prior. The night that Gemini was, as he claims, suspicious of her unusual behavior.
These screenshots of me flirting with Ruby just happened last night, and I knew something was up.
I couldn't find the original TikTok clips posted by her, as they have since been deleted. One could argue that the removal of these pivotal videos is suspicious. However, as we will see throughout this story later on, it wasn't uncommon for videos by other creators discussing Gemini to be taken down for somehow violating TikTok's terms of service. Whether that was the case here, or Ruby deleted the videos herself, I cannot say for certain. Regardless, let's take a look at Ruby's response together.
With everything that's going on, I just want to tell you guys, first of all, why the just make that up to ruin somebody's life for clout? I just think that's 2, there's no evidence at all in his videos, whereas in my video, I have screenshots. 3, he makes me seem like the bad guy, which I'm not. This takes a lot of courage to go on a social media platform and try and take down a bigger creator that is literally flirting with minors. He literally admitted it in his video. He was flirting with a 16-year-old girl, and he's 20. Last night, he would not stop harassing me to FaceTime him, and I obviously did not want to. Last night, you can see that he really wanted to FaceTime me, and I didn't want to. FaceTime me. Come on with the FaceTime. FaceTime. I really just need you guys to send this stuff to TikTok Room, because I sent them the videos of the FaceTimes, and they'll post them, and it's disgusting. I really need you guys to believe me, please. Some of you guys just need to look at the facts, and I would never make this up. Also, in his video, he says that I initiated the conversation. However, we were talking about him in the group chat, and then I screenshotted this. That he wanted to stay with me in an Airbnb. This was a while ago when I only had like 100K, like maybe a little less. So I was like, this is sick. Like a guy with 1 million followers, like he wants me to stay with him. So obviously I thought it was cool. Then he said, why'd you screenshot? And I said, because I wanted to show my friend that I had you on Snapchat because I thought it was cool, because I'm not just going to tell him. And then he texted me, he said, we should collab soon. And I said, what would you want to do? And he sent, meet up. Ew.
Okay, there are a few important things to make note of with this clip, so let's waste no time in doing so. Ruby starts off her defense by posing the question to viewers, why would she intend to simply ruin someone's career for fun and entertainment?
First of all, why the just make that up to ruin somebody's life for clout? I just think that's up.
While yes, there are people out in this world who would enjoy nothing more than bringing others down, purely out of entertainment value or as some form of sick power trip, I'm inclined in my personal opinion to not believe that to be the case here, due to the fact that Gemini admitted that things did happen, but claims just not as Ruby had explained. So there is confirmation that, even to an extent, there is an undeniable amount of credibility surrounding Ruby's allegations. The next point that Ruby touches base on is Gemini's incredible lack of evidence, which is a valid point to bring up. If Gemini wanted to appear more credible in his response, why didn't he provide a single shred of evidence to back his story in any capacity? He admits to what is being irrefutably presented, such as the flirting, Snapchat messages, shirtless pictures, etc., but he doesn't provide any evidence to back up that things went any differently than what Ruby had alleged. Instead, he just twisted the proven evidence and added unverifiable recollections of his own. For example, such as when he was faced with screenshots of him calling Ruby a cutie or cute AF, how this was actually him being tactical, trying to uncover why she was being suspicious. And man, I must admit, he really did commit to the role. As we saw, Ruby provided what appeared to be additional screenshot message exchanges between her and Gemini, where Gemini is persistent on getting a FaceTime out of her. The messages read as the following. Ruby questions, "What are you doing later?" To which Gemini responds with, "Nothing. We can FaceTime if you want." Ruby messages back with, "Maybe. I'll see what I'm doing." Gemini then replies, "Lamau, okay. Can we FaceTime?" Once more, Ruby declines and says, "Not right now," to which Gemini simply says, "Bruh." But it didn't stop there. As we can see on screen, Ruby provided follow-up screenshots where we can see Gemini continuing to ask for a FaceTime call. FaceTime? Come on with the FaceTime. FaceTime? In my eyes, this appears like rather insistent behavior for someone who is trying to remain cautious of the girl who messaged him out of the blue, apparently leaving him on such high alert. Later throughout Ruby's video, we actually do receive evidence that lines up with a recollection Gemini had provided in his defense, which was him inviting Ruby to stay in a TikTok house. The information was something I was actually eager to learn more about when Gemini had mentioned it, as I could find no information on Gemini being associated with any collaborative groups on TikTok. So, what Ruby provides here actually adds a lot more clarity to the timeline of events that took place. Something to keep in mind is that Ruby did not initially make mention of this TikTok house herself. It was actually Gemini who was the first person to bring this up. Ruby, however, was in fact able to provide evidence that this invitation of Gemini's did in fact happen, which backs my suspicions that either Gemini knows more about Ruby than he's letting on, or he truly was unfamiliar with her content, and to him, she was a stranger with whom he wanted to make memories with, which is highly suspicious. As we saw, Ruby mentions how she and Gemini had spoken some time ago and how he had invited her to stay at an Airbnb.
I screenshotted this, that he wanted to stay with me in an Airbnb. This was a while ago when I only had like 100K. So I was like, this is sick. Like a guy with 1 million followers, like he wants me to stay with him. So obviously I thought it was cool.
Now, I tried to read these messages myself, but unfortunately Ruby is blocking the view of said messages, so I can only make out a small amount of information, but it's important information nonetheless. On screen, we can see that on February 11th, a conversation allegedly took place between Gemini and Ruby that reads as the following. Ruby begins with asking, "What was the opportunity you were talking about?" "I don't know, TBH. is it worth it? Gemini then responds with, yes, actually. A lot of opportunities and memories will be made. Ruby replies with, Lamau, I don't know if my blank, and the sentence is cut off. If I had to narrow it down in terms of what could have been said here, I would conclude that Ruby said that their mother most likely wouldn't let them attend, as that would line up with Gemini's version of events. Gemini responds to this with a text I had to piece together, so I can't with 100% accuracy claim to know the entirety of this message's context, but what can be read does lead credence into Gemini's recollection. This message reads as the following. But anyways, if you blank message is unavailable, open in my Airbnb blank house with me and blank creators. After hearing Gemini's story about what he claims actually took place between the two, from what we can infer, again, it's not 100% accuracy as I do not have the messages right in front of me, and as I've stated before, these videos have since been deleted. This does line up with the claims made in his own response video. There were indeed discussions of a potential TikTok house, which was revealed to be an Airbnb, with other fellow creators that Gemini knew. The only issue here is that this information doesn't actually help Gemini's case at all. If you give me a moment, allow me to explain what I mean. Gemini claimed in his response video that he did not watch Ruby's content at all, so he had no way of knowing her age, and that their interactions concluded after he had invited Ruby to be a part of a TikTok creator house, to which she declined because her parents wouldn't let her.
So, to further explain my reasoning, nowhere in Ruby's page or on her Instagram description or anything does she say that she's 16. If I had known that, none of this would have ever happened in the first place. She followed me one day, so I followed her, and that's how it was. I invited her to be in this TikTok house, but then she told me that her parents wouldn't let her, and I was like, okay, that's it. We never talked.
So, here is apparently proof that backs up his own story. But that story, alongside with what Ruby provided, allegedly proves that Gemini in fact had actually invited a smaller creator that he knew nothing about to stay under the same roof as him, alongside him and his other creator friends. You see where I'm getting with this? Ruby claims that after this particular interaction had taken place, Gemini had texted her asking if she would be interested in a possible collaboration. When Ruby asked what a collaboration would entail, Gemini's alleged response was the Snapchat we saw on her initial call-out video, where Gemini is seen asking to meet up, followed by winking and blushing emojis. So again, either Ruby for some reason is lying here and received this creepy Snapchat almost a year later during their most recent conversations, which wouldn't be a good defense for Gemini, as a year is more than enough time to figure out someone's age. And also something I forgot until just now is that Gemini brings up he knows enough about Ruby to know she's in a relationship with someone.
But I was also asking her questions about Theo because I thought that they were still together, but it turns out that they've broken up.
So it's like, you know some level of details here about this individual. You wouldn't just know someone's relationship status, who is a complete stranger as you are trying to paint them out to be. Or Ruby is in fact being truthful here, and Gemini had asked if she would be interested in the idea of a potential meetup, all the while, according to Gemini's own story, barely knowing her at all. In my own personal opinion, from the way I'm seeing this situation, none of these outcomes would be particularly favorable for Gemini in the slightest. After both Ruby and Gemini had presented their stories, arguments, and evidence online, despite everything, the community of TikTok still remained in favor of Gemini's version of events, deeming him to be someone who was rather blameless, all things considered. What also did not aid Ruby's overall public reception was after her poorly received call-out videos had been posted to TikTok, fans of Gemini who began to look into her uncovered an alleged clip of Ruby saying a racial slur, the N-word to be specific, when she was believed to be 12 years old. Users who had once been hesitant to defend Ruby beforehand were now most likely even more unsure about publicly showing their support towards the 16-year-old. This also led to a further detraction of the facts, leading into arguments that failed to pertain to the original matter. In an effort to provide transparency to you, the viewer, I looked around to find out more about this alleged clip that had been made by Ruby. In doing so, I came across a TikTok uploaded on August 28th, 2020 by a TikToker named Tiana Charlie. Forgive me if I pronounced that name wrong. This clip contained the alleged video of Ruby using a racial slur, which was being presented as a means to denounce the credibility of Ruby's claims against Gemini. Despite the video being kind of grainy, as I think it was probably a re-upload after like a re-upload had been regurgitated around the internet like 1,000 times, I personally can make the strong assumption that this individual who was shown in this clip is in fact Ruby. And the individual in this clip can in fact be heard using this volatile choice of words. The reason why I am bringing this up in discussion is because I want to recognize, while yes, and this is by no means a defense of Ruby's actions in the slightest, the N-word is indeed a horrifically insensitive slur to use, that to use this clip as a means to discredit Ruby is to engage in a red herring argument. What Ruby did was shameful and insulting. I have no argument surrounding that specifically by any means. But despite this information, it still doesn't take away from the fact that Gemini had admitted wrongdoing, and that the questionable details surrounding his version of events just didn't add up when examined further. This clip by Tiana Charlie had also contained an interesting moment that initially had caught me by surprise, given the overall positive public opinion towards Gemini. It's a moment that I'd like us to briefly review, as it led my research efforts into quite an unexpected direction, involving further allegations that were now beginning to surface around Gemini, unrelated to Ruby's story.
Update. So Gemini official updated his profile and said, "I'm at therapy, we'll make YouTube video addressing, accepting, and not running, just not right now." I still stand with everything I said in my last video. Ruby did set him up and was using him for clout. A lot of underage girls have been coming out exposing Gemini for setting them nude or thirst traps while knowing their age, but they had proof. Ruby barely had any proof and she just twisted the words and manipulated it. That's what I feel. So he made a video, but he deleted it, and he said that he often forgets to ask girls their age. Now, if you just forget to ask their age, just start asking it. You don't need to go to therapy. Now, if you go to therapy, I feel like it's a deeper issue where you find pleasure in talking to young girls. There is no need to cancel Gemini. He's going to therapy, he's getting himself fixed. No, move on. Ruby, this you?
What? Wait a second. Did this creator just say lots of underage girls have been coming out about Gemini sending them inappropriate messages and photos?
A lot of underage girls have been coming out exposing Gemini for sending them nude or thirst traps while knowing their age, but they had proof. Ruby barely had any proof and she just twisted the words and manipulated it.
Well, that's interesting now, isn't it? Browsing through the comments of this user's video in hopes of finding any potential discussions about these other alleged individuals who had been coming forth with their own stories, the mention of a username that I personally did not recognize could be found attached to a comment that simply read, "Well, what about Jordan Liana's video?" Being unfamiliar with this name, I did a generic search into both Google and TikTok using the keywords Jordan Liana, TikTok, and Gemini. Unfortunately, nothing came up under that specific username. However, something else caught my eye instead. In the search results, I noticed a TikTok by a creator named Miss.Bruno, titled "Not Poggers TikTok," followed by the hashtag Gemini Official. I also noticed that this video was posted on October 6, 2020, roughly over a month or so after Ruby's initial allegations had come to light. So whatever this video was, given how fast topics move on the internet, it most likely wasn't related to Ruby's story. Upon clicking this video and watching its contents, I was quickly met with a realization that this situation involving Gemini and his inexcusable behavior expanded far beyond what we had already discussed. If you will, let's take a moment to review this clip in question together.
What the f? I spent literally hours today compiling different accounts, different screenshots, different stories of people who have had bad experiences with Gemini Official to show that he is not the man he wants you to think he is. I wanted to bring volume to these voices. I wanted these stories to be heard. I wanted these people to feel represented. I was almost 100% positive it did not in any way violate any guidelines. Within 10 minutes, both of them taken down. I don't even know what to say, TikTok. Here were the accounts listed in the video and their stories. Jade Candan, Yeah, I'm Caroline, Jonathan Moss, Anti-Steezy, Soy Savis, Fair Hopes Herps, Cheese Flavored Jewel Pod, Possum Queen, and Klutz McButts. Please go to these counts, support them, believe them, be there for them. They need to be heard. Please know that despite what TikTok's behavior says, if you have a story about him, how he mistreated you, or someone you know, please come out with it. I will support you.
After watching that, as you may be able to tell, we have a lot more we need to discuss.
Seeing as videos of this nature have been taken down multiple times by TikTok, I'm going to say this once and I'm going to say this loud and clear. Gemini official, you disgust me.
Okay, let's brush ourselves off and jump right into the next chapter because, as we saw, it's going to be quite the roller coaster of information. Let's start off by further exploring the clip that had been uploaded to TikTok by the creator Miss.Bruno that we watched together in the prior chapter. Miss.Bruno claims to have spent hours gathering accounts, screenshots, and other forms of evidence from an extensive list of creators who had unfavorable interactions with Gemini, to say the least, stating that they had attempted to post their findings in alignment with these said creators as a means to further share their stories and voices. But, for whatever reason, their videos containing such information were removed by TikTok for violating terms of service within just 10 minutes of being posted to their account.
I spent literally hours today compiling different accounts, different screenshots. I wanted these stories to be heard. I wanted these people to feel represented. I was almost 100% positive it did not in any way violate any guidelines. Within 10 minutes, both of them taken down.
Despite us not having these particular videos due to them being removed, we aren't left without context clues and possible leads as to where we should look further for this information alleged against Gemini by all of these creators. Our first context clue is that, as we can see, was that the reception of this clip was positive towards Miss.Bruno, with comments praising them for what they were doing. Quite a different change of public perception for the once beloved Gemini, who had only recently won back public favor after the Ruby allegations not even 2 months prior. That leaves us with our next context clue provided from this clip. The sizable list of creators that Miss.Bruno had shown on screen, who they had implored viewers to seek out on their own due to their own content discussing those users' stories repeatedly being taken down by TikTok. With this very important bit of information, I began to individually sift through each user's profile that had been presented to see if I could uncover what exactly Gemini had done to warrant such a change of heart amongst the community members of TikTok. I will state for transparency purposes that this task would prove challenging. The reasons being, A, this took place over 4 years ago, spanning across numerous accounts, meaning that to find any clips around this time frame, one may have to scroll through potentially thousands of TikToks. And B, TikTok at the time, as we saw from Miss.Bruno, was in the spirit of removing call-out videos surrounding Gemini, so there was a strong possibility that a lot of these alleged clips might not even exist anymore. But regardless of these hurdles, due diligence was a requirement for bringing Gemini's story to light in an accurate and transparent manner. Starting with the first user mentioned, I began my search with the creator Jade Can Dance, who, as the name suggests, is a TikTok dancer with over 2.9 million followers on their account. Scrolling through their account until around the dates of October of 2020, I was quick to find that there were no videos regarding Gemini around this time frame. Comparing the screenshot of Jade's account from Miss.Bruno's clip with Jade's current library of content, we're able to match up these thumbnails with the dates of where these videos regarding Gemini should have been. As you can see, the videos in question are missing, either personally deleted or taken down by TikTok. Frustratingly enough, this would prove to be a rather common outcome in this search. I would soon find myself at dead ends with users such as Soy Sauce, whose account only contained a handful of videos unrelated to the matter, and Auntie Steezy, where the only mention of Gemini I could find under their account was a video titled Big News, which briefly showed this user presenting a screenshot of Gemini's TikTok account, which at the time had just recently been deleted.
Hey, I'm at dinner, but we got news! Aha!
Upon looking further after my initial research, I found a comment from the user Cheese Flavored Pod, who had been mentioned as well in Miss.Bruno's list, stating how they had removed their content discussing their experiences with Gemini due to receiving threats made against their life from users in defense of Gemini. And as for Possum Queen, I was unable to find a link to their account. Yet, as it seems, their video appeared to consist of an alleged mugshot that we will be discussing here in a moment. While this doesn't tell us much, it does show us that whatever Gemini had been accused of by these creators, it was enough to warrant the deletion of his account, as we will later see, from TikTok directly. Moving forward, we we have the creator Jonathan Moss's account, where an opinionated, yet in terms of research purposes, informative video was posted on October 6, 2020. The same day, Miss.Bruno had posted their own video. In this clip, Jonathan discusses how they had once trusted Gemini, but how that trust had apparently resulted in him being deceived by the Peppermint Menace himself. They also bring forth the eye-catching mention of an alleged arrest and mugshot, as well as the anecdotal retelling of a story brought forth by a user known as Klutzy McButts, who was also mentioned on Miss.Bruno's list, regarding Gemini's alleged deviant behavior in college, leading to his expulsion from the school. When checking this creator at Klutzy's account, it can be found that every video from their content library has been removed aside from one unrelated clip that had been posted about a year after this situation was taking place. Their only video available contains comments that do make mention of Gemini, but that is all to be found within their account. So, with their original stories and information now either deleted or removed by TikTok, Jonathan Moss's clip remains vital in understanding the now lost information allegedly surrounding Gemini. Let's take a look at this clip together now.
Gemini official tricked the shit out of me. I was definitely bamboozled. When the original situation started, I genuinely thought he was just being played. I was like, this dude's really stupid. Come on, man, like, don't be like that. But then after more and more information came out, I was like, yeah, nah, hell nah, dog. This is one of my followers. She talked about Gemini in college and how he was harassing people, and people in the comment section was like, nope, we want proof. Well, if you would have clicked the next video, you can see my man's mugshot and his full government name, the full government name, like from date of birth, hair color. They describe this to the T. This is the guy that I followed him back too, that released the original screenshot if you want to watch it yourself. And there are multiple upon multiple accounts of him being super aggressive and harassing creators. I'm legit sick to my stomach. Like, check out their accounts.
After watching this clip, there are quite a few details that I feel are highly important to discuss, as they reveal what I believe to be Gemini's true nature. A certified strange little man. According to Jonathan's retelling of events, Klutzy explained how they had allegedly attended the same college as Gemini, and how he had been arrested at some point for harassing individuals. Upon hearing this, it reminded me of a comment I had seen in passing from an unrelated user who claimed that they actually knew Gemini in college as well. This unrelated user says in their comment that Gemini was an RA at their college and that he was kicked out for allegedly sexually harassing someone, stating how happy they were to see him finally being exposed. There's no way to directly substantiate these specific claims as 100% definitive truth from either this commenter or Klutzy, but what we can do is attempt to verify any information that would lean towards the credibility of these alleged claims made against Gemini. And thankfully for that particular task, we had just the tiniest bit of information to start with. It's nothing major per se. But we do have Gemini's alleged mugshot, nature of his crime, that being his alleged full name, as well as his alleged date of birth. You know, the tiniest crumbs of information. The easiest place to verify this information in theory was to discern whether or not this alleged mugshot was either real or just an extremely convincing photo thrown together for an unknown nefarious reason. I know, the likelihood of that being the case is rather slim, but to eliminate any possible defense that this image could have been faked, it's, as I've stated, important for us to do our due diligence here. That way we can, allegedly and in theory, reduce Gemini's already tarnished credibility by a substantial margin. If we look at the screenshot of Gemini's alleged mugshot, we can notice that there is a partial URL that can be made out. While it's not an entire link, the website's domain name, npssheriff.org, can thankfully still be read, which is an incredibly useful piece of information here. When visiting this website, one is greeted with a visually uncomfortable man who was not at all hyped for picture day, sitting at the top left corner of the screen. Beside him are the words Natchitoches Parish Police Department. Forgive me if I'm butchering that name. This was a critical detail. If you recall, at the time, Gemini had been attending undisclosed university, which is located in Louisiana, specifically Natchitoches, Louisiana. So that detail already lined up perfectly, but still not an absolute indicator of legitimacy. For this, we have to dig deeper. Scrolling down to the website's directory, we can find a page selection titled Inmate Lookup. Assuming that this page alongside Gemini's alleged personal details would make a long story short, I was thoroughly disappointed to find that upon clicking this link, users would be met with a failed request server error page. I tried to attempt this page request on both a mobile phone and a desktop computer to iron out if the issue was perhaps on my end, but indeed, it was a critical error on behalf of the website. This meant we weren't going to be able to easily get our hands on Gemini's alleged mugshot to verify Klutzy's information. We had to work within the boundaries of the other context clues that were provided. Looking at Gemini's alleged date of birth and a disclaimer that all personal details will remain censored, we find a birthday in the summer of 2000, which would line up with Gemini's age of 20 at the time. Hooray! That checks out. Easy enough, I suppose. When searching Gemini's alleged full legal name, after some digging, I found an Indeed profile that was of particular interest. Unless I was somehow blind or there was an unfortunate doppelganger by the same name and same face, I was looking at an undoubtable photo of Gemini. And according to the information provided on the profile, it stated that he had attended Undisclosed University for theater from 2019 through 2020. Which, as we've established, is located in Natchitoches, Louisiana. Our last clue to expand upon would be the caption that appears over the screenshot in Klutzy's video that reads as the following: "Ask anyone from Hall. Everyone hates him." If we look up Hall alongside Undisclosed University in our search engine, we aren't presented with any information surrounding a supposed Hall. Rather, we can find that there is actually a student housing wing located at Gemini's former university called Hall. With just one letter off, we can make the assumption that this is simply a minor spelling mistake made by Klutzy when they captioned their video. I'd argue that the spelling is too close and too niche for this not to be the case. With all of these pieces of evidence seemingly falling into place, such as the website link resulting in the front page for the police department, located in the same county as the college that Gemini had attended, the personal details such as his name resulting in the discovery of an Indeed profile that undoubtedly belongs to Gemini, unless there's someone out there who for some reason is constantly keeping a fake Gemini Indeed profile, which would be a little strange, but I guess it's possible. The specific name of the student housing hall comes back with an actual hall located at University, and the user whose comment was found separately from Jonathan Moss's video that claimed very linear information to that of Klutzy's, I personally find myself at a strong conclusion as towards the credibility of these particular users' stories. That conclusion being, once more in my personal belief, that despite my inability to have a direct visual copy of the alleged mugshot, alongside the lack of specific information regarding his alleged crime, the personal details that are provided are far too accurate to simply be, in my personal opinion, a well put together fake that a user with less than 3,000 followers created as some elaborate means to get a TikTok creator canceled. It just doesn't make much logical sense in my opinion to go through that much effort for what would be a seemingly motivationless act. So, to reiterate, despite us not having the desired 100% proof in front of us that Gemini was in fact arrested for resulting in him being expelled from his university, we are at a strong, once again, in my personal opinion, 99.9% chance that there is some form of definitive credibility to Klutzy's claims regarding Gemini. And with that credibility comes a disturbing confirmation, allegedly, that Gemini, when you put all the pieces together, quite possibly is a dangerous individual with a related crime tied to him who has been in constant contact with minors, going so far as to asking for meetups, flirting, and constant FaceTimes with individuals he knew were underage. This information makes his credibility surrounding his own defenses extremely bleak to say the least. His word, in my opinion, under no circumstance should ever be trusted at face value. Going off the assumption that this arrest did take place, which in my own personal opinion, I do believe it did, that would mean Gemini had been carrying around this dark secret of his, all while portraying himself as a kind-hearted TikToker who merely wanted to provide people with laughs and entertainment.
I literally don't do controversy, so I just want to spread love, positivity, make people happy.
His behavior, his inconsistencies, they were all starting to merge together to create a greater picture of what was really at play here, at least through my eyes anyways. However, we still haven't finished searching through the list of creators provided by Miss.Bruno and the potential information that their stories could bring to the table. Wasting no time, let's continue onwards. On October 5th, 2020, the user known as Fair Hopes Herbs, who has since changed their account name to _Hawk_, uploaded a video to TikTok in support of Miss.Bruno's callout. Since this upload in 2020, Hawk now goes by the pronouns of he, him, so we will be referring to them with their respective pronouns throughout this section. In this clip, Hawk shares their experiences regarding Gemini, providing with them an alleged screenshot of a desperate Gemini pleading for this user, Hawk, to not come forward with their information, as well as an anecdotal telling of events that, if true, lines up parallel with evidence brought forth by Ruby. Together, let's take a look at this clip now.
Gemini official, you disgust me.
Now since this is finally coming out, let me tell you my story between me and Gemini. So I became friends with Gemini mutuals at the beginning of this year, so back in January. He proceeded to follow me on all my social media and not speak to me for a while, but until a few months ago. On every Snapchat I made, he would reply with, hey cutie, wow, you look so fine, and all these other really uncomfortable things. I was a minor. He proceeded to follow up with that saying he wanted to collab with me in an Airbnb. This led to unwanted photos and him manipulating me. This went on for a few days until I blocked him on all social media. Oh, but guess what I got in my Instagram DMs? Pause to read. And you wonder why you lost friends. It's because of what you did to minors and me.
As we saw, Hawk explained how they had first encountered Gemini after becoming mutuals on social media at the beginning of 2020. Hawk proceeds to detail how Gemini would often reply to their Snapchat stories with flirtatious messages and unsolicited photos that would understandably leave Hawk feeling uncomfortable, and how these interactions eventually led to Gemini directly inviting them to collaborate at an Airbnb. If you recall, this alleged interaction that Hawk describes here is identical to the Snapchat messages provided by Ruby, where Gemini can be seen inquiring about an Airbnb. While Hawk's information in regards to this Airbnb is indeed anecdotal, unless he was for some reason repurposing details from Ruby's story as their own for unknown malicious intent, which in my opinion is incredibly unlikely, given that we can see from Hawk's provided screenshot that Gemini was allegedly asking him not to come forward with his story. I am, in my own personal opinion, heavily inclined to believe Hawk's story. The details align far too greatly, in my eyes, to somehow be a lie backed by evidence that proves these two most likely had negative interactions. Which brings me to the message that Gemini had allegedly sent to Hawk after they had blocked them, during which all of the nefarious information surrounding Gemini was coming to light. Let's take a moment to read this, shall we? As it's incredibly insulting. In Gemini's message, he says, "Hey, I get why you blocked me, but I have a video coming out on Tuesday. If you could please hold all judgment until then. You were a great friend, and I already lost so many." My god, pulling on the old heartstrings, are we, Gemini? I don't have much to add to this message in particular, aside from it is incredibly self-centered and pathetic to ask someone who you allegedly preyed upon to pretty please with sprinkles on top not judge them, and then to attempt to pull a guilt trip in this situation by saying how you've lost so many friends is quite a baffling move on Gemini's part. Homie needs to get fitted for some big old clown shoes, because what kind of absolute self-centered goober tries to guilt trip others, especially in a situation where you're the one being outed for some pretty sketchy stuff? It's so stupid. It's so devoid of intelligence. I personally apologize, I didn't mean to get off track like that. So with Hawk's video now watched, let's continue on to the next creator on Miss.Bruno's list. Yeah, I'm Caroline. Oh boy, this is an interesting one. In an effort to remain transparent, upon scratching the surface of this creator, I was met with auto-filled suggestions such as, yeah, I'm Caroline canceled, and yeah, I'm Caroline controversy. I did some peeking around on comment sections and on Reddit, and from what I can conclude, to my understanding and not a direct confirmation of their actions, this user Caroline in recent years has acquired online notoriety for allegedly bullying children, exhibiting rude behaviors to others, and in one instance, allegedly, a pet frog of Caroline's had lost its life due to mistreatment and neglect. Perhaps another video for a different day. Regardless of this creator's acquired online infamy, if there was information that could still be tied back to Gemini, then it's still worthwhile to verify if Caroline had posted any videos in relation to Gemini's allegations. When searching through Caroline's account, if we look around the time frame of October of 2020, we can find 2 TikTok clips pertaining to Gemini, discussing further alleged allegations. In Caroline's first clip that we will watch here in just a brief moment, she states that this video is a part 2 to a prior discussion she had posted to her account surrounding Gemini. However, looking for any additional videos centered around Gemini during this time frame of October would yield no results. As clarified earlier, these videos in question were either directly taken down by Caroline herself, or TikTok had removed them for violating terms of service. We have no definitive answer to this, so we have to work within the confines of the 2 clips from Caroline that remained available. The following clips contain a few screenshots of alleged messages between both Caroline and Gemini that appears to shed light on Gemini's behavior and desires for something more intimate manifest rapidly for individuals he barely knows. We also find an alleged instance within this clip of Gemini exhibiting self-deprecating behavior when things do not go his way, which will intertwine itself into the credibility of another creator's story with whom we are yet to discuss. Let's take a look at this clip together.
Part 2 of Creepy Gemini. Now that I put this up, I realized I didn't have the date, but this is from early January 2019. This was our 3rd conversation. We had FaceTime one time. See my messages that I put hearts and stuff because I was just trying to be nice. That does not give him any more reason to flirt with a minor. This was in later February. I would try to not talk to him. You can see already, I'm genuinely uncomfortable. You can tell, like, you wanna read the rest of it, you can. Just scratches the surface. I don't have most of the iMessages. I don't have most of the Instagram messages anymore. He was saying I was his everything when I was a minor and he was in college. He's an obsessive creep. He's a creep.
After watching Caroline's clip, there are key points that I feel are worth discussing further. As we saw, Caroline discussed their alleged interactions with Gemini, and how these said interactions had taken an uncomfortable turn for the worst after only knowing Gemini for a brief period of time, pointing out alleged remarks that Gemini had made when she was a minor, such as how Caroline was his everything.
He was saying I was his everything when I was a minor and he was in college. He's an obsessive creep. He's a creep.
Caroline further explained that she was not in possession of the majority of their personal messages with Gemini, such as exchanges from iCloud or Instagram. But what they do provide are 2 screenshots of alleged Snapchat interactions held between the 2 creators from early January to early February. I will be reading these interactions for you now. Caroline begins with, "Hey, what's up?" Gemini replies with, "I just wanted to say you are the most beautiful girl I have ever seen, and I'm so lucky to be talking to you, let alone have feelings for each other. I want you to know that you are amazing and so successful. This is only the start, and you will be amazing in life. I just hope I'm there to be by your side and support you." Caroline replies, "Thank you so much. That really means a lot. You are really special to me, and such a talented, sweet person to be around." Gemini replies with, "You are my everything, Caroline, and I know I am busy a lot. You are always on my mind. Thank you." Our next Snapchat interactions read as the following. Gemini begins with saying, "You are my everything. I think about you all the time. heart emoji, and winking emoji. I can't wait until I get to travel the world with you. Caroline responds with, okay, you like me and that's fine, but like, we haven't even met yet. I know. I'm sorry. Too much. I just thought it was mutual. I'm stupid. Caroline replies with, yeah, I like you, but again, we haven't met yet. Gemini questions, so then like, what do? We like each other and stuff, and I want to compliment you and be there for you, and flirt, but I don't want you to be uncomfortable. Caroline answers, I'm not sure. I just need to get to know you more, you know? This conversation closes with Gemini saying, I understand. If what Caroline has stated in her video is true, that she had only had limited interactions with Gemini at this point, which credence can be placed in her favor due to the message we read where Caroline responds to Gemini's advances by saying that the two had yet to meet face to face, then we could reasonably conclude that Gemini is eager to take things further with individuals he has little knowledge of at an alarming rate. This would line up with Ruby's claims that Gemini persistently wanted to meet up with her, flirt with her, FaceTime her, as well as Gemini's own testimony that he not only recklessly flirts with any and everyone, but that he invited Ruby to an Airbnb while knowing relatively nothing about her.
I don't watch Ruby's videos, so I would have never known. She followed me one day, so I followed her, and that's how it was. I invited her to be in this TikTok house, but then she told me that her parents wouldn't let her. And I was like, okay, like that's it. We never talk. Me and Ruby never talk. So all this was like super weird that she just randomly started flirting with me.
Moving on to Caroline's second provided clip. Caroline makes a response directed at those who were still actively defending Gemini at this time. She makes a connection in this video to the user Jade Can Dance, with whom we had reached a dead end with earlier due to their videos either being removed or deleted. Despite us not having Jade's story to analyze for ourselves, much like how Jonathan Moss had done with Klutzy, Caroline briefly explains the details of Jade's experiences with Gemini, allegedly discussed within her missing videos. And quite frankly, if the information that is provided within this clip is in fact true, which given everything so far, in my own personal bias I am inclined to believe is, then it would further cement my belief that, in my opinion, Gemini was truly a depraved deviant that needed to be removed from TikTok quite some time ago. Let's take a look at this clip together.
Not someone still defending Gemini and telling me my situation wasn't even that bad. Me telling my story about what happened to me back in early 2019 with Gemini wasn't to be like, oh, I'm a victim. It was to further explain how much of a creep he is and how long he's been doing this. In the previous video, I mentioned that he did something extremely messed up to one of my friends, and because of that video, she texted me and was like, oh, okay, and posted a multiple part series about exactly what he did to her. Her name is @JadenCanDance, and she tells the whole story of how he took advantage of her while she was under the influence of alcohol. She has pictures of the bruises he gave her. She has screenshots of the excessive creepy text that he sent her afterwards. I was kind of curious at Playlist why he wasn't messing with me. It turns out it's because he was fixated on Jaden. I knew about this whole situation back in early March, but I wasn't allowed to talk about it because she was too scared to talk about it. Don't invalidate me for coming out about what happened to me, because other victims can come out too because they feel validated.
After watching this clip from Caroline, I wish I was in possession of these alleged screenshots and videos that at one point had been posted to TikTok by Jade Can Dance. Due to the absence of Jade's videos, I can't confirm or deny that this alleged situation took place exactly as stated, or if it even occurred at all. All I can say is that, in my opinion, if we are to judge the plausibility of Gemini committing these alleged deplorable acts, we can refer to the very likely yet unconfirmed possibility that Gemini was allegedly arrested for battery. Whether the alleged arrest and Jade's story are two pieces of the same puzzle, or two entirely unrelated events, I can't say, as I just do not have that information in front of me. Regardless, due to Caroline's clip, we now have the alleged horrific details of the story that Jade had once brought forward online that was being supported by users such as Miss.Bruno, Jonathan Moss, and through hundreds of thousands to millions of TikTok community members who were actively engaging with these clips in a supportive manner. But while we did have damning information such as Gemini's admission of flirting with minors, separate individuals' accounts, and information lining up in a very cohesive fashion, we didn't have the 100% definitive evidence for the majority of the allegations that not only brought the story together collectively, but also backed Gemini into an irrefutable situation that he couldn't manipulate his way out of through lies and the downplaying of narratives. However, there was still one important key individual who we've yet to discuss that would leave Gemini's credibility forever tarnished within the public eye, leading to a full-blown confession and the termination of his TikTok account. An individual whose name could not be found on Miss.Bruno's list of creators. Throughout my research, this individual in question's username could be found in mentions scattered about numerous comment sections discussing the ongoing situation. Oftentimes, these comments would cite how Gemini was indefensible because he was aware of this individual in question's age, that being 15 years old, and that with this knowledge, he still pursued this user inappropriately, eventually leading Gemini to committing a deplorable and sickening crime. A crime he would later openly admit to. This user was known as STFU, Lily, and their evidence-backed story was about to act as the final nail in the coffin to Gemini's online career.
Six months ago, there was a creators event going on in Los Angeles that Gemini was attending. And then the next day he asked me again to come over, and I told him I couldn't go over there, I couldn't drive because I was 15, and I told him that. He asked me to come over again and offered to get me an Uber, and I got in the Uber and I went over there. Now, I'm not going to go into details as of what happened in the hotel, but you can probably imagine.
Hey guys, so I'm just gonna make a series of videos just explaining and owning up and taking accountability. Basically, I got with this girl and she's 15 years old. I paid for her Uber, she came and hang out with me, we got with each other, and that was the situation. After the fact, I found out that she was 15 and I still kept talking to her. Super, super disgusting of me, and I've never really done that to anybody.
Around the beginning of October of 2020, just a few days before the mass wave of uploads surrounding Gemini were posted by Miss.Bruno's prior mentioned list of creators, a 15-year-old girl by the name of Lily uploaded a series of call-out videos to their now-deleted TikTok account at STFU Lily. Throughout the research efforts of the creator Underflow, whose channel link can be found below in the description, and a separate re-upload that could be found on another user's account on TikTok, we are provided collectively with two of these since deleted videos and their contents. I'd like for us to review these very important videos together in what little chronological order we have. In her initial clip, it's here where Lily explains how she first met Gemini, and how their interactions had eventually unfolded into Gemini going as far as to paying out of pocket for this minor to visit him at a hotel where a confessed crime would later take place. Preceding this clip, we will discuss the details set forth by Lily before moving on to the information provided in our second clip, where numerous screenshots between the two users are displayed. These screenshots show us a manipulative Gemini who not only acknowledged Lily's age, but was also desperate to cover his tracks, hoping that this would all go away if he pleaded in secrecy to this minor, both threatening self-harm and lying about the legal system, stating that despite Lily being a minor, she would also be held legally liable for his crimes if she were to continue publicizing her information. Wasting no time, let's begin the clip featuring Lily's retelling of events.
6 months ago, there was a creators event going on in Los Angeles that Gemini was attending. And I had Gemini on Snap and he asked me to come over. The first night he asked me to come over, it was a Thursday, and I said no because I had school the next day. And then the next day he asked me again to come over, and I told him I couldn't go over there, I couldn't drive because I was 15, and I told him that. And a few hours later, around midnight, he asked me to come over again and offered to get me an Uber. I was already in a pretty bad mental space at the time, and I had just had something happen that day that put me into an even bigger hole. So in a moment of weakness, I agreed and I got in the Uber and I went over there. Now, I'm not going to go into details as of what happened in the hotel, but you can probably imagine.
As we just saw, Lily says that there was an event in Los Angeles that Gemini was planning on attending, stating that at this time she had Gemini as a friend on Snapchat, and that after a conversation between the two, Gemini inquired about the likelihood of Lily potentially visiting him in person while he was in town for the event. Lily had initially declined Gemini's request due to her obligations with school the following day. However, at the time, with it now being the weekend for Lily, Gemini, with his relentless persistence, asked once more if Lily would be open to the idea of visiting him. Again, Lily declined this invitation, allegedly citing her reason being that she was 15 years old, meaning she was legally too young to drive.
The first night he asked me to come over, it was a Thursday, and I said no because I had school the next day. And then the next day he asked me again to come over, and I told him I couldn't go over there, I couldn't drive because I was 15, and I told him that.
Despite Lily allegedly stating her age of 15 to Gemini, it appeared, according to their version of events, as if Gemini had little interest in taking no for an answer. Hours later, around midnight, Gemini once again reached out to Lily in hopes of convincing the 15-year-old to visit him. This time, he directly offered to pay for the expenses if Lily were to be open to the idea of taking an Uber to the hotel that he was currently staying at. After numerous failed attempts, Lily finally accepted Gemini's invitation and took the offer of a paid Uber to his hotel, where Lily, who states they will not be divulging specific details, strongly alludes to the idea that a encounter had taken place between the two.
And a few hours later, around midnight, he asked me to come over again and offered to get me an Uber. I was already in a pretty bad mental space at the time, so in a moment of weakness, I agreed and I got in the Uber and I went over there. Now, I'm not going to go into details as of what happened in the hotel, but you can probably imagine.
At first, one may look at this video and argue that this specific clip is merely a retelling of anecdotal events that cannot be confirmed at face value, and you'd be correct if that was the case here. However, as mentioned, there was more to Lily's story that supported her claims of a predatory Gemini taking advantage of her. That being the documented messages between Lily and Gemini that were found within our second clip that we are about to review. To clarify, we will not be watching this clip. Rather, we will be reviewing screenshots due to this video only containing captions and direct messages. I will warn that the messages we are about to read will be quite infuriating due to the lies and blatant manipulative nature of Gemini that is being directed towards a 15-year-old girl. Messages that Gemini most likely assumed would never have seen the light of day if things had gone his way. Let's take a look at these direct messages now. The first screenshot is an official comment of Gemini's with 74 likes, where he admits his knowledge of knowing Lily's age of 15. This comment reads as the following. Everything she said was right. Yes, I know she was 15. It's been resolved. Let it go. Yeah, let's just let go of the fact that you invited a minor to your hotel room and committed one of the worst crimes imaginable. It's not a parking ticket, Gemini. It is, to the best of my knowledge, an incredibly severe felony. Pretty reasonable for people to not just shrug that one off. The next screenshot is of private Snapchat messages held between both Lily and Gemini that were sent after Lily had posted her call-out videos against him. I will be reading these now in a collective manner rather than individually. Given that Gemini directly confirmed Lily's version of events, I have no reason to believe that these messages could have been faked or edited in any capacity. Let's read these interactions now. We begin with a message sent by Gemini that says, "Can you delete all the videos and just say that everything is okay? Okay? Like, all the videos?" Lily does not respond to Gemini here, to which Gemini attempts to gain her attention once more by sending a hello. If we look towards the bottom of this message, an in-chat notification shows us that after this embarrassing exchange was sent, Gemini attempted to directly call Lily, yet this was to no avail. Following this, Gemini sent yet another message that reads, "Please delete, or I'm deleting my comments. Can you just delete and move on? Like I'm trying to move on with my life. You got what you want. End me for all I care." Lily then responds with, "You legally committed a crime." From here, Gemini doubles down on the manipulation tactics, with messages that could be taken as a subtle legal threat, were it not for the fact that Gemini is a fool who seemingly knows nothing about the law. If we go legal, then it's not going to end well for both of us. We both actually get in trouble. Lily, calling Gemini out on his idiotic bluff, asks, "What crime did I commit?" Unable to provide the non-existent law regarding minors grooming adults, Gemini says, "I'm not trying to be rude, but if you look it up, we'd both be at fault for even flirting, and we both get consequences. No, I have the weapon in my hand right now. Want me to snap you?" Presumably, Gemini means that he would send a photo of himself with a weapon to prove how serious he was about self-deletion. The 15-year-old child responds to the grown man with, "Are you serious right now?" To which Gemini says, "I've been feeling very self-deletion-y. Got therapy. Told you about therapy, remember?" What follows after these messages is proof that this user was in fact Gemini. Lily shows his Snapchat username in her contacts list, as well as his full Snapchat profile bearing the same name. Rounding off this series of screenshots is one final message from Lily that calls out the childish behavior of Gemini with the caption, "You admit what happened, and that you knew my age. Got mad I didn't delete my videos, threatened self-deletion, then blocked me?" As I'm sure you can tell, there is so much wrong with this situation here. I am just genuinely in disbelief that Gemini would attempt to threaten a minor into silence by throwing out non-existent legal threats towards her. He'll admit when he's done wrong publicly, but then behind the scenes, it's revealed he's only doing so in hopes that Lily would remove her videos. It's not like Lily's claiming that she had her feelings hurt by some mean words Gemini said, and then he apologized. She accused him of quite literally committing a crime that he admitted to. In what universe does Gemini realistically expect people to just get past that, to just let it go? Let alone to expect this of the person you directly affected. He absolutely reeks of pure self-interest. With Lily, rightfully, refusing to take down her videos made against Gemini, alongside Gemini's own confirmation that what Lily had stated was in fact true. He now had nowhere left to run from the public eye. He had just dug his own grave with his failed attempt at manipulating Lily into silence. Upon this realization, Gemini changed his TikTok bio to say that he wasn't running from his actions, that he was at therapy, and that he would have a video uploaded soon addressing everything, temporarily going offline for the time being.
Goodbye.
Which historically translates to, I'm going to downplay and deflect everything, and hope that in the end, you actually feel sorry for me and my phobia of accountability. And in the case of Gemini, this historical pattern would see itself repeating once more online. In the following days, Gemini would return to the online space with a lengthy 7-part apology video, where he confesses to everything that had taken place between him and Lily, confirming he knew her age of 15 and that he still pursued her despite knowing this. In doing so, Gemini attempts to portray himself as a selfless hero who wanted nothing more than to do the right thing, which is incredibly embarrassing to watch as he, in reality, just makes a fool out of himself by digging his grave even further, which by all means, with a situation like this, I'm glad he did. Now, I'd like for us to review Gemini's apology together, as it is ripe with hypocrisy and contradictions that I am personally itching to rip apart. I do want to warn beforehand that Gemini basically treated these following clips as his confession tapes as if in that moment he was about to be raided by the FBI. So this section may be somewhat lengthy, as we have, as mentioned, 7 parts to this apology to dissect. I condensed down as much as possible, but due to their total length, we will be reviewing these clips in 2 to 3 part sections rather than one large bulk of video, as I don't want to needlessly overwhelm you as a viewer. With that said, grab some water or a snack and get comfortable because it won't last for long, and let's dive right into this pathetic excuse of an apology, if you can even generously call it that.
Hey guys, so I'm just gonna make a series of videos just explaining and owning up and taking accountability. As many of you know, there's been a bunch of drama going down, particularly with this girl named Lily. Now, I'm not gonna explain the story because I'm sure that there's many stories around everyone's accounts or on people's Twitches or whatever, but basically I got with this girl and she's 15 years old. Now, I do wanna say that I really didn't know that she was 15 when I got with her, but I paid for her Uber, she came and hang out with me, we got with each other, and that was the situation. After the fact, I found out that she was 15 and I still kept talking to her. So much so that I asked to FaceTime, which is completely disgusting. I make Now, of course, I know this is a serious situation, and I know that a lot of people go through serious situations like this. People were asking me, well, why did you keep her in your phone? Why did you keep talking to her? And it was because I didn't want to block her or run away. I know that what I did was wrong, and I made sure that she was okay because I didn't know. And I kept her in my phone because if she wanted to go legal or take action or talk about the situation, she has my information to do so. So why did you ask her to FaceTime after you knew how old she was? I don't know. I can't answer that. Super, super disgusting of me. And I've never really done that to anybody. Of course I flirt, and of course I can be excessive, but I never forced this girl to do anything, or I never manipulated her or built a relationship with her at all. I do care about her health, and I do care about people's well-being.
I really enjoy the massive migraine I just acquired from mentally processing the stupidity that just passed through my ears from the first part of this apology. Where do we really begin? As we saw, Gemini does indeed confirm that there has been controversy going on, specifically with Lily. He leaves out Ruby's claims, which I personally find odd, because he was comfortable with claiming that Ruby had set him up, leaving him a rather blameless victim of a clout chaser. He was content with the outcome of her story being silenced, with him being on top in terms of public opinion, but now that somebody else had, once again, called him out with evidence of the same behavior, suddenly he's remorseful and wants to take accountability for his actions?
Super disgusting of me.
As professionally as I can put this, what an absolute joke. And despite us not having the full cohesive details posted by Miss.Bruno and the creators she had listed within her video, it is bewildering to me that Gemini does not acknowledge any of their stories either. Why would he not defend himself against the claims that he was arrested for sexual battery, that he took advantage of someone while they were under the influence, and he was expelled from his university for this behavior? Perhaps there's something crucial I am missing, but in my eyes, it is incredible that Gemini is able to ignore all of that noise just so he can focus on incriminating himself by confessing to one specific user's story. Gemini continues his defense by claiming that at first, he truly was unaware that Lily was 15 years old.
Basically, I got with this girl and she's 15 years old. Now, I do want to say that I really didn't know that she was 15 when I got with her.
Let's entertain that logic for just a moment. First off, he didn't know her age, but he invited her to a hotel room with the intent of pursuing her. Where does that help his defense? Even if hypothetically Lily did not state her age, what prevented Gemini from just asking? Gemini is honestly trying to convince us here that even if Lily had not revealed her age, that asking her that information didn't ever seem to be something worth questioning. But on the other side of the argument, even if Gemini had learned that she was 15, of what use would that information have been to him? He confirmed that not only did they have an illegal interaction within his hotel room, but that despite finding out that Lily was in fact a minor, he still confessed to pursuing her anyways, going as far as to inquire about further illegal interactions via FaceTime calls.
After the fact, I found out that she was 15 and I still kept talking to her. So much so that I asked to FaceTime, which is completely disgusting.
So, Gemini claiming that he initially did not know Lily's age quite literally provides no relevance to this situation. He threatened that they would both face legal action due to the illegal age gap. You can't just backpedal that information in hopes that people will either just forget or just blindly take your side. And speaking of fun little lies, surprisingly enough, I'm having a hard time believing Gemini's reasoning for not cutting all contact with Lily. He claims that he did not want to cut ties in case Lily wanted to take things legal, stating that he did this to make sure she was doing okay, because he truly didn't know that he had made a mistake.
People were asking me, well, why did you keep her in your phone? Why did you keep talking to her? And it was because I didn't want to block her or run away. I know that what I did was wrong, and I made sure that she was okay because I didn't know. And I kept her in my phone because if she wanted to go legal or take action or talk about the situation, she has my information to do so.
This excuse irritates me greatly. I find it amusing that Gemini was apparently so open to the idea of Lily taking this information through the legal system that he went into her DMs to scare her with a threat of fake legal repercussions and to threaten upon himself over the situation. What an absolute saint. Gemini also says that he is unsure as to the reason why he continued to ask for illicit FaceTime calls with Lily after he discovered that she was 15. Now, I'm not a doctor, but if I had to take a wild guess, it might be the fact that you seem to like minors, Gemini. I'm further bothered by the fact that Gemini's self-proclaimed intention here is to not only take accountability, but also conveniently clarify that he did not manipulate Lily or force her to do anything that she did not want to.
Of course I flirt, and of course I can be excessive, but I never forced this girl to do anything, or I never manipulated her or built a relationship with her at all. I do care about her health, and I do care about people's well-being.
Yeah, that makes perfectly normal sense, right? As if he didn't continuously ask the minor who cannot consent to visit him in a hotel and then threaten her in her DMs after the fact. Let's not forget, this is only the beginning of his apology. Let's take a look at what else Gemini has to say for himself. I have no doubt he will provide us with words of genuine ironclad honesty.
Now, of course I go after kids. No. Do I intentionally attack or go after TikTok children? No. I am sorry to Lily and her family and to any of other creators or people who have been affected by this whole situation. I never meant for any of this to happen, but I made it worse by not going about it in the correct way. And I ended up victimizing and manipulating my audience, and that's not what I intended to happen. I was upset because I had put my family in danger over my mistake. And I did try to myself because this isn't who I am, but everybody thinks that I'm this bad person, and that's just not who I am. I don't wish harm on people, nor do I wish anything bad on them. I just want everybody to be happy, but I'm sorry to the people that I've hurt.
Couple things to note, so let's get right into it. Gemini starts off this section by saying how he does not go out of his way to pursue minors on TikTok, which I'm going to shut this argument down very quickly. The only reason Gemini is able to claim that he doesn't intentionally pursue minors is because he intentionally chooses to not verify their age. The only time Gemini claims to verify age is when he is flirting under the comment sections of girls that he deems to deserve attention. Once he's done creeping around, then he'll check for the user's age and allegedly retract his comment.
I'm not gonna lie, I do comment on girls' TikToks and I flirt and compliment because that's what they deserve. They deserve compliments. They deserve to know how amazing they are. You know, you don't want to go too far, so you check the description or somewhere where it says that they're however old they are, and then you'll see in some cases I'll comment be like, never mind, she's 16, blah blah blah.
I also find it almost humorous that Gemini claims that he is sorry to any other creator with whom his actions may have affected, only for him to not acknowledge any additional voices that had spoken upon this matter. He says he never meant for this situation to happen, and I truly do believe he means that, but only in the sense that he wishes he didn't get caught. He's more than aware of the fact that what he's doing is inexcusable and wrong. If he wasn't, he wouldn't attempt to silence the voices speaking out against him. It's laughable that in the same breath that Gemini claims he did not want to victimize or manipulate his audience, he then, in my eyes, immediately manipulates and victimizes his audience by saying how his actions had brought his family into harm's way and that he also had attempted to commit self-deletion.
I was upset because I had put my family in danger over my mistake. And I did try to myself because this isn't who I am.
In my personal opinion, and just from life experience, this exudes textbook manipulation. Gemini wraps up this section by saying how he's been dealing with the fact that people have been making him out to be the bad guy, and that these actions of his aren't reflective of the type of person he is, citing how he doesn't wish harm on others and how he just wants everyone to be happy at the end of the day.
Everybody thinks that I'm this bad person, and that's just not who I am. I don't wish harm on people, nor do I wish anything bad on them. I just want everybody to be happy, but I'm sorry to the people that I've hurt.
Perhaps I'm missing something, but I don't understand how Gemini's actions could be taken as anything other than selfish and nefarious. He took advantage of a minor. He's an actual deviant to society. Despite how much I'd love to sit here and pick apart Gemini's inconsistencies, we still have more to this apology that we need to get through. I appreciate your patience, it really does mean the world to me. For these next clips, there is a brief disclaimer. I'm going to be condensing these last 3 clips together, as Gemini grows rather redundant in what he is saying. So I've cut out where he just runs in circles so we do not all fall asleep. With that said, let's continue onwards.
Anybody knows me, then they know that I'm a caring and loving person. Like I said, I never hurt her or made her do anything. Yes, I paid for her Uber, but that was because she said that she didn't have a vehicle or any way to come and hang out. And so I was like, oh, well, I'll help you. Since this whole situation, I have sought out help. I know that I had said intense therapy every single day for months, and I came back within a week. I am going to therapy and I do have it on weekends, but the intense therapy thing was a lie, and I'm sorry about that. I want you guys to know that although I am on this platform, I don't go after people on here. I just make videos for entertainment and to make people laugh. And again, like, I know how serious this is, and I am so very sorry to all the people that have gotten involved. I'm sorry, Lily, and your family. I'm sorry that I hurt you in any type of way. I never meant to. I'm sorry, Papa Gut. I lied straight to your face, and I tried to manipulate you, and I made you angry and upset, and I didn't listen to you. I'm sorry, Mr.Bruno. I also lied to you, man. And I know that I messed up our friendship severely, and I know that I made you really upset, which was never intended at all. I love you, man. I love your videos, and I love collaborating with you. I'm sorry to my audience. You guys mean the world to me. I'm sorry that I tried to manipulate you guys. Haley has since decided to give me a second chance at life because she knows that I'm not a bad person or that I wanted to hurt her, or that her family wanted to take action, but she felt bad and knew that I didn't wish to hurt her or anything, and so she decided to give me a second chance. Again, I want to say thank you for that. This situation should have never happened, and I'm sorry to all the people that have got involved again. I want to continue to make videos and making people happy and laugh and earning your guys' trust back. But to do that, I have to own up and learn and get help. If I could say sorry a million times, I would. In conclusion, I didn't want to shy away or run, so that's why I made these videos. You guys deserved a proper apology, especially since I couldn't bring myself to do it in the first place. If anyone knows me, like I said, they know I'm a loving and caring person and don't wish harm on anybody. I have lost so many TikTok friends, which I deserve to, and I lost all their trust, and now I have to gain it back. I just want all of this to end. Bring on the break of suicide. Putting my family in danger is not fun. So stay strong, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.
Well, Gemini did get one thing right here. This situation should have never happened, but the problem is that it did happen. There are a lot of headache-inducing parts to these final clips that we need to discuss because this conclusion just doesn't make any sense. Gemini starts off by making the claim that he would never hurt Lily or make her do anything that she didn't want to, which is a flat-out lie.
Like I said, I never hurt her or made her do anything.
It's a pretty well-known fact that children cannot consent. So for him to say that essaying a minor is not harming her, or making her do something that she didn't want to, just illuminates the disgusting lack of accountability that he's taking in this situation. Gemini, with a straight face, is able to sit there and say that he paid for Lily's Uber as a kind gesture so she could hang out, and that he was just trying to help her.
Yes, I paid for her Uber, but that was because she said that she didn't have a vehicle or any way to come and hang out, and so I was like, oh, well, I'll help you.
How is paying for an Uber so a minor could visit you in a hotel room where you would later take advantage of her being helpful? That has to be the stupidest argument that has ever passed through my ears. Gemini then goes on to mention that he lied to 2 fellow creators. One being a creator by the name of Papa God, who did a 2-part hour-long breakdown of a now-deleted livestream apology Gemini had made back in September of 2020 in regards to the Ruby allegations, a livestream that would be far too long to feasibly cover in this video. So I highly recommend you watch their analysis. And the other being Miss.Bruno. It is revealed by Gemini that he and Miss.Bruno, at one point, were actually close friends on TikTok who would collaborate with one another. What can be discerned from this information is that most likely at some point, possibly before Lily's evidence had fully come to light, Gemini had leveraged his friendship with Miss.Bruno to twist the narrative that this situation was merely being blown out of proportion, and that Lily was to not be trusted. This theory of mine is later backed by another video we will review here in just a moment. Gemini informs his audience that Lily had allegedly given him a second chance at life because he knows that Lily believes he's not a bad person that wanted to hurt her, stating that her family had allegedly wanted to take action against him, but that Lily didn't want this to happen because she felt bad, and once again, it was clear that he didn't want to hurt her.
Lily has since decided to give me a second chance at life because she knows that I'm not a bad person or that I wanted to hurt her, or that her family wanted to take action, but she felt bad and knew that I didn't wish to hurt her or anything, and so she decided to give me a second chance. Again, I want to say thank you for that.
What I can't wrap my head around, though, is why on earth should Lily feel bad for Gemini's actions here? How does Gemini have the audacity to claim he's taking accountability and that there's no manipulation at play if the 15-year-old allegedly feels guilty at the fact that she was taken advantage of in a hotel room and that she no longer wanted to remain silent about it? How are you not the bad guy here, Gemini? Under no circumstances should the minor in this situation feel guilt or remorse for what was done to her. And if God forbid she does, I wonder if it had anything to do with the adult in her direct messages threatening self-deletion if she didn't remove her videos detailing her experiences with him. It's absolutely deplorable for Gemini to post this, thinking that in any capacity he would look good for saying this. Gemini's desperate attempt at manipulation is once again placed back onto the audience's shoulders in his closing statements. He says that he understands he needs to own up for what he's done, that he doesn't want to run from his mistakes, and that he needs to begin the journey of rebuilding the trust of his community, as well as his fellow TikTok creators. However, only a few sentences later, Gemini once more victimizes himself by reiterating that the situation had put his family in danger and made him consider self-deletion before ending the video, citing how none of this was fun, leaving viewers, as well as you and I, with the conclusion of one of the worst apology videos that TikTok has ever seen grace the platform.
I didn't want to shy away or run. That's why I made these videos. If anyone knows me, like I said, they know I'm a loving and caring person and don't wish harm on anybody. I've lost so many TikTok friends and I lost all their trust, and now I have to gain it back. I just want all of this to end. Bringing on the break of suicide, putting my family in danger, it's not fun. So stay strong. I'll see you guys later.
Now I could sit here and discuss for quite some time my personal thoughts on Gemini, how I find his footnote and the never-ending history of TikTok controversies to be shameful and grotesque. I could emphasize how much I despise when people fake taking accountability, only to shift the blame on everyone else but themselves. It's one of the most cowardly acts one can do as a human being, because it displays pure self-centered arrogance and a genuine lack of remorse for your own actions. But, instead, I think that there is someone with a more personal relevance to this particular story who puts the words together better than I could. And that person would be Gemini's former friend, Miss.Bruno. Let's have a listen.
Seeing as videos of this nature have been taken down multiple times by TikTok, I'm going to say this once and I'm going to say this loud and clear. And if this gets taken down again, I will repost it over and over and over until I am banned from posting, because I won't allow this man to go by on this app unpunished and unscathed. Gemini official, you disgust me. You took advantage of a 15-year-old girl, a child. You lied to me and manipulated me into believing you and taking your side, and then you blamed your actions on her. You don't deserve your platform, you don't deserve your wealth, you don't deserve your success, you don't deserve sympathy, you deserve nothing. You have abused the power of your platform to use children for your own sick desires. Never, ever speak to me again.
As I said, being that these two individuals were once close friends, I feel Miss.Bruno's thoughts and opinions towards Gemini are far better suited and more personal than anything I could sit here and try to put together with my own words. In my opinion, Miss.Bruno's take is a fair and accurate assessment, or an extensive situation riddled with many twists and turns regarding heinous actions, deception, manipulation, and more from a once beloved creator who was revealed to be nothing more than a fraud hidden in plain sight. With that being said, let's move on.
In conclusion, I love you guys. I literally just want to spread love and laughter. You guys know I do the stupid peppermint video. Somebody literally made a cake out of me. Like, that is so amazing to me. And you guys know how happy I get when people do fan art. Like, it literally just makes me so happy, and sometimes I cry, and I'm so grateful for you guys, honestly. And you guys know, and I try to tell people, but I just don't do controversy. Like, I don't want my page to be filled up with stupid videos. Like, I want my page to be somewhere where people can go to and laugh when they're having a bad day. Like, I literally don't do drama. I just don't. It's so stupid, and it ruins a lot of things in life.
As of the recording of this video, Gemini's original TikTok page has been deleted from the website for violating community guidelines, and to my knowledge, there have been no attempts to restore this particular account. In 2021, Gemini attempted to return to the online space via his Instagram page, as well as starting a new TikTok account by the name of Official Gemini, which was allegedly met with a positive reception. This is backed by his quick accumulation of over 56,000 followers. How this individual was welcomed back with open arms, despite how widespread his wrongdoings were, is beyond my understanding. Regardless, this return was short-lived, and after only a handful of videos, Gemini's account was once again deleted. To the best of my knowledge, as of May of 2024, there are currently no active accounts on either TikTok or Instagram that are owned by Gemini. Hopefully in the future, this will remain the same. The occasional rumor of a confirmed sighting or a return of Gemini can be found appearing every so often throughout TikTok. But as of now, there are no definitive indicators as to where Gemini's current whereabouts can be found. As it would seem, after everything that had taken place over his short period of time as a widely recognized TikTok creator, Gemini has officially faded from the limelight back into the obscurity of which he had first arrived. Wherever he may be, let's hope that we never have to discuss this heinous individual ever again. Hey there, if you made it to the end of today's video, I just want to take a moment to say thank you. The fact that you have watched up to this point genuinely does mean the world to me, and for that, you have my utmost gratitude. I know for me, I am quite tired. I have spent the better part of 2 months becoming more acquainted with Gemini than I would ever feasibly want to in one lifetime. So if you find you enjoyed today's deep dive, feel free to consider leaving a like, subscribe, and a comment down below, telling me your thoughts of Gemini and the nightmarish rabbit hole his story sent us down. Anyways, I'll keep the outro relatively short here. I'm sure there's things in your life that you personally have to attend to, even if it is just doing nothing for the rest of the day. If you'd like to catch up with me after the video, feel free to follow my Twitter and Instagram down below in the description, as well as feel free to consider supporting my future projects via becoming a channel member or a Patreon member, with the links listed below. It helps me out and is more appreciated than you'll ever know. There will be a dedicated section to those members here in just a moment. Without further ado, once more, hi, I'm Wonder. It was an absolute blessing to have you here today. I hope the rest of the week goes well for you. Keep that head of yours up high, and I will see you in the next one. Farewell.
I'm gonna go to sleep for the next century now, laddie. That took an outrageous amount of time to make.
Alright, take care. If you're still here, I'd like to take a moment to express my gratitude to the supportive individuals over on my Patreon. I have also taken the time to wear a silly hat for you. I hope it is worth every penny. I am truly forever grateful for your generosity. I know times are rather tough for everyone right now, so for you to support me in such a way with everything going on in the lives of your own, I really can't find proper words other than thank you. I'd also like to give another warm thank you to the high-tier community members such as J. Jackson Hall, Alien Ace Cat, Goth Barbie 3000, and an extra thank you to Alice Beth for their highest tier subscription support. You all have my expressive gratitude. Thank you, stay safe, and good night.
I'm disappointed.